Well, I was feeling really good for the first few days,
Yeah.
and then went to a viewing at a funeral home for a family friend.
Oh, wow.
And I really didn't think, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't, wasn't even anticipating any problems.
Yeah.
And I walked inside and just was
Awesome.
overcome and
Mm,
and
mm.
really just about had to run out of there. And then
Wow. Wow. Okay.
it's just been like downhill
Okay.
since
Okay.
then.
So I got it. So I know how to help you with this. Okay.
Okay.
So the thing is that every situation in life, there are always two basic parts to it. There's the circumstances, and then there's our reaction to the circumstances. Now,
Uh-huh.
whatever it is that triggered you about this, we don't have to go into analyzing it or figuring that out. But the problem comes from, for most people, the circumstance and the reaction are so kind of intertwined, sort of so interlaced that
Uh-huh.
it's difficult to get them apart. And in order to resolve it, we have to get them apart. But it turns out it's not difficult. It's just difficult because of our conditioning. Okay,
Okay.
so I can show you how to separate it. Now, the reaction is what we want to resolve. The circumstances are whatever they are. We're not bringing your husband back. We're not stopping other people from dying, or you might go to other funerals. There's circumstances all kinds of
Right.
circumstances that you may find yourself in. What we want to do is to resolve the reaction, separate it out, and resolve the reaction so that you can do those things without the reaction. Because
Uh-huh.
the reaction is the problem, not the circumstances. Okay?
Right.
Now, the reaction has two components to it too. It has the content, which is like about the circumstances, right? And then it
Okay.
has the energy, which is what we did when we did your session. We focused on the energy. Okay?
Uh-huh.
If we identify the energy and we resolve the energy, problem solved. Like that terrible feeling just goes away, as you experienced already. Okay.
Right.
So that's what we want to do is we want to just isolate or separate out the sensation of the reaction of this thing that's making you feel so bad. Okay. And go use the techniques to resolve that. And as you experienced before, it's just magical. I mean, it really works. So who knows why this experience kind of uncovered something else that we didn't get the other day, right?
Uh-huh.
That's okay. We've started along a path here of cleaning up your inner emotional landscape, of allowing you to feel things that you haven't been allowing yourself to feel before. So that, in a way, is kind of like, okay, well, what we have to do now is to get good at this, so that when stuff comes up, you can just handle it. Okay, and
Okay.
when you're in the beginning of just learning it, that's not so easy to do on your own. So it's really good that you mentioned it, so we can just kind of follow up. I can support you, and you can go through and do it. Also, I don't know if you've downloaded that app that I mentioned, that you can
No, I hadn't.
yeah, you can download the app. You can also then just guide yourself through the techniques with the app. All you got to do is just keep your eyes closed, just swipe the screen to the right, and it'll give you the next instruction, just like I would. But you control
Okay.
the timing, which is really cool, because it's almost better, because you know when you're ready for the next instruction. You just swipe it. If it's too soon, you can swipe the other way. It'll repeat it. It's a great app. It's,
Yeah,
it's
I'm glad you reminded me because I actually forgot all about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a wonderful follow-up resource that you can kind of use it a bunch of times. See, the key to getting this and really getting good at it is to do it a bunch of times, because we're dealing with like a whole lifetime of emotional suppression and avoidance. I mean, everybody is like that. And so, yeah, it's a new skill. We have to really learn how to remember to do it, and how to do it. It's exactly the opposite of what you've been used to doing your whole life. So it
Uh-huh.
takes time, like any new
Okay.
skill. It takes time to learn it, practice it. I mean, first time you rode a bike, you fell down, skinned your knee.
Yeah, you
So
needed training wheels.
yeah, training wheels, that's it. So the app is kind of like training wheels. That's a good analogy, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So don't despair. We're going to solve this, and it won't be difficult.
Okay.
Okay. So when you think about the current situation that you are experiencing now, I'm testing for you. There are two of these in technique energies. Those are the ones we did at first, right? Where the energy is kind of localized, painful inside. Somehow we've taken the lid off and uncovered some other stuff. It's not actually directly related to your husband, right? But it is related to the whole issue of people dying and all of that stuff, clearly, because that's, something about that
Right.
triggered you, right? So who knows? And the other beautiful thing is we don't have to know where it comes from. This is not analysis or therapy. It's not like that. All we have to do is just get in touch with the energy, put the circumstances aside, focus on the central, strongest part of the sensation, and then just do what we did before, is just get closer to it as it softens. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll guide you through it. We'll get these two. It won't take us long. You'll be back feeling balanced and centered again. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead and close your eyes and just think. You can even just think back to going to the funeral home or wherever it was you were, and probably won't be difficult at all to sense where the emotional pain is stored in your body.
It feels like I have a huge lump right in my
Yeah,
throat.
that's exactly where it is, and that's what we want to go for. So notice the field of energy there that's causing that lumpy feeling, and go right to the center of the strongest part of it, and just allow yourself to notice the strongest part, but don't get sucked into it. Don't get so close that it overwhelms you. Just keep a little bit of a distance from it, but be close enough that we can start the process of completing whatever the incomplete experience is that's held there. Now, I'm just going to put your tendency is to sort of collapse into these kind of energies, get overwhelmed by them. Okay, that's the lifelong conditioning of. See, people either suppress them or get overwhelmed. It's two
Mm-hmm.
different. Okay, and you're quite used to getting overwhelmed by these energies, right?
Right.
Yeah. So this is what we're learning, the new skill of how to do the opposite, which is instead of getting sucked into the energy and overwhelmed by it, we keep a little distance from it, and we focus on the central strongest part, which actually helps keep the distance, interestingly enough. And you just focus on the central strongest part, and when it starts to diminish and gets a little softer, then just carefully, not too fast, you get a little closer to it.
It feels like the top is sort of opening up.
Ah, good, 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 good. That's what we want.
It's very hard to stay back and not get sucked in.
Exactly. And the key to being successful at that is two things. The top priority is bringing your focus back to the central, strongest part. You'll notice that when you do that, you immediately don't feel like crying or getting overwhelmed. Now, it's a little bit intense, but the second part is to adjust the distance so it's not too intense. You don't have to make it difficult for yourself, right? You can back up a little bit, be a little bit further away. Doesn't matter if we go a little slower. It's okay. When you get the distance just right, then the intensity level is something that you can handle. Okay? And then it won't feel like it's going to suck you in. Or if it starts to, you just remember, bring your attention back to the central strongest part. So we're in the process of kind of breaking an old habit of allowing yourself to just succumb to it and just be overwhelmed, right? That's the old habit. That's the 3-year-old in you. It's been running your emotional life. Okay. But we're in the process of upgrading now to being who you actually really are now, which is an adult with an enormous capacity to feel things and resolve them. It's just completely underutilized because you have this 3-year-old running your emotional life your whole life. That kind of makes sense to you?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this is about really upgrading your emotional competence to true emotional competence. Whole new definition of what emotional competence really means, not managing the emotions with your intellect, which is the traditional understanding, but actually learning how to completely resolve them, which is what we're doing. Getting a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's getting softer.
Yeah, this is exactly the right approach. You have to recognize that it's a gradual process. You can't force it to happen. It just kind of happens in its own timing if you're doing the process in the right way, which is keep bringing the attention back to the central strongest part of the sensation and adjusting the distance so that it's just right, not too close, but also not too far away. And gradually you'll get the hang of that. You'll get this, you'll start to develop actually a skill of being able to do that.
So now it's like opening up and spreading out, and there's just this one small hard piece left.
Excellent. You're doing it just exactly right, dear. Good job. Keep going. You're going to feel so much better when it's all gone.
It feels like it's gone.
Wonderful. That's terrific. Just what we want. I'll just test for you. Yeah, that one's gone. Okay, so I had tested that there are two. Okay, so one is gone. So the second one, we can use this technique called the locate technique, where now that the energy's gone, you're kind of back in that kind of quietness. Yeah, you can have a sense of that.
Hmm.
Yeah, and so then now you're ready to just tell your body by having the thought, say, "Okay, body, show me where the other one is." And there's nothing in the way. And as long as you have the attitude that if the body shows you, you're going to allow yourself to feel it, then it will. So we're
This is
looking.
weird, but it feels right back here.
Okay. Yeah, we can store them anywhere. So this is where it is. Yep, that's where it is. Yep, that's exactly where it is. So go ahead and notice the central strongest part of the field of the sensation there. And adjust the distance so you get it just right again. And then just gently notice it until it starts to soften. And when it does, then continue to keep adjusting the distance, keeping it just right.
It feels like a needle or something being drawn out.
Wow. Hmm. Well, feeling it being drawn out is better than feeling it going in. Uh, hang in there. Just keep your attention right in that central place where it feels the sharpest.
Wow, it feels like it's gone.
Wow, fantastic. Fantastic. We got it? Yes. Okay. There's
Yeah.
something else, some other kind of backup copy or some other energy we need to deal with. Oh, okay. So go ahead and open your eyes. Good job. Now let's check it out. Okay, let's check it out. Think about the situation of going to the funeral home or wherever it was you went. Just think about that for a moment and see if thinking about it brings up any discomfort.
No, I don't. I don't think so.
Okay, that's great. Now also just to recheck it, think about your husband
Hmm.
and see how it feels to think about him. And that he's gone now, not with you anymore. He's actually on some level probably not gone and is still with you actually, but just not physically. How does it feel to think about it?
Yeah, it feels okay.
Excellent. Very, very
Yeah.
good. Okay, now I want you to just kind of scan your whole being, your whole sense of yourself, and see if there's any more of this despair, feeling that you've been feeling for these different days. Any aspect of that left anywhere?
No, I just feel really tired.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, when you do this, you're really engaging in a very powerful healing process, and that does take energy. So
So
it's
how
just,
do you know that you're doing this and you're not just suppressing it?
well, what we just did in checking it out is you were able to think about those two things and you didn't feel anything.
Yeah.
So the process itself is quite different. Suppression, you go away from the sensation. You try and get
Uh-huh.
as far away from it as you can. But what we're doing is the exact opposite. We're going as close to it as we can get, right? And
Uh-huh.
as you experience it, it gradually diminishes. That gradual diminishing isn't suppressing, it's completing the experience that you couldn't handle when it first happened. Now, what I suspect is that probably, and you might even remember, but probably some earlier time in your life, you were at some kind of funeral or something, and something was really painful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So those experiences you didn't complete at the time. So when
Mm-hmm.
you went when you went to this particular wake or whatever it was, it's like somehow just being there and seeing that was like remembering that it kind of triggered that and brought it out. Well, if you have the skill to resolve this stuff, when things like that happen, it's no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I sent you some information in a follow-up email. There's some web pages about making the
Mm-hmm.
unconscious conscious and the freedom practice and all that stuff. What you would really serve you ideally is to you can take this course as soon as it's available. I'm gonna give it in August, but it's this freedom from illusions, right?
Okay.
And then you get really good at quietness, locate, in, and out. Those four techniques are all you need. And you're going to learn how to do the muscle testing. This is the key
Mm-hmm.
one. Right? Because that way you can test when you have a particular thought or you feel a particular kind of disturbance, you can test to see which of the four kinds of thoughts energy is underneath it. And then you immediately can do the locate technique, find the energy, and resolve it with in or out techniques. Now, getting good at that, this is like probably one of the most greatest gifts of loving yourself you could ever do. Because nothing can cause you to be the victim of your emotions then ever again. You can get out of it in moments, you know? It's like when my daughter died. I shared this with you, I think.
Yeah.
When my daughter died, within a couple of hours, I was completely free of the pain. You know, it's incredible. Nobody gets over grief in 2 hours, you know? So this is a whole new technology, right?
Yeah.
Because I got over the grief doesn't mean I don't love her. In fact, it's just like what you're experiencing about your husband at the end of our session. It's like all you can feel is the love for the person, because that love is just naturally there. You don't have to do anything to create that. That's just there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing not useful about that. I mean, we have useful emotions and not useful emotions. Well, love is one of the useful emotions, right? It's a good one. Yeah. And we want to have more of that in our life and less of these old, you see, it's just a conditioned response. It's deeply conditioned to resist your feelings. And that's the thing that needs to practice and developing the mastery of, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So download the app and start getting familiar with it and using it, even on minor things, you know, just to get the sense of it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then when the class comes, we'll be using the app in the class. Actually, everybody.
We're here.
Cute cat. Yeah. So we're going to be using the app in the class, and then the key thing that you're going to learn in the class is the muscle testing, which is not difficult.
Okay.
And
I've learned muscle testing, you know,
great.
Like this.
Perfect. Great.
So,
You'll be really good at it. Yeah, this
thing?
is a good way. It's also good to learn the one-handed method. There's a way like this. There's also a way like this, where you can do let's see if I can.
Okay.
Yes and no, or yes and no, like that. Yeah, that's great if you already know it. It'll be easy for you. Okay? So then I'll just show you how to use it to identify which of the 4 kinds of thoughts it is, and then to identify what to do to resolve it. Once you get that skill and you get good at that, you never have to be the victim of your emotions like you've been these last days ever again.
Yeah.
That'll be easy. Okay?
So you posted the link for the app, right?
Yeah, it's in the email I sent you.
Okay. I'll go back and check it.
Yeah, and if you haven't, just drop me a note and I'll send it to you. So you can also just do a search on Awaken Your Inner Greatness. It's in both app stores. Great.
Okay.
Feel better?
Yes, thank you so much.
Very good. Very, very good. Okay. So in terms of the grief pain, before we started our first session, the demo session, it was pretty strong, right? On a scale of 0 to 10, what do you think of me?
Well, yeah, 8 or 9 at least. Yeah, 11. Yeah,
20.
Depending on the day. Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah. And how about now? How about now?
It's 1 or 2. It's.
Yeah, I mean, there's still going to be a missing of him just because he's not here, you know, physically.
Yeah.
Right? And you might interpret that as kind of the 1 or 2. You know?
Yeah.
But in terms of pain level, I'm thinking about, how's that?
Yeah, non-existent right now. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really great. Proud of you and happy for you.
Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Joan. And if you have any trouble, don't hesitate to contact me, because in a few minutes I can help you. Okay?
Okay.
And one of the things, by the way, about this freedom practice is that you get into a group where you post your experiences with using the freedom practice daily, and it gives me a chance to kind of mentor you on an ongoing basis to help make sure that you get it. Okay?
Yeah. And
usually you're going to just do it right, and I'll just put a little emoji that's like an okay symbol. You know, it looks like a muzzle test. And so it does, you know, usually it just takes me moments to respond, okay? But that's sometimes, sometimes you'll post something and I'll sense, there's a little bit of an ego-based thought in there or something like that. And I'll test for you, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I'll mention it. I'll say, hey, check this out because I think, and then you go there and then sure enough, because so much of this stuff is so unconscious, you know,
Yeah.
particularly the ego stuff is so unconscious. People just, they're so used to having ego-based thoughts all their life that they don't even notice, you know, I mean, they don't think to question it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we're making this unconscious phenomena of being just sort of absorbed in your ego and emotionally pain-based thoughts without realizing it. We're making that unconscious process conscious. Take a look at that little short webinar. It's about 20 minutes in one of the links in the email I sent.
Okay.
About making the unconscious conscious. You get a feel for this. This will be really
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Okay.
Super. Great to see you. I'm glad you're better. I knew it would be
Thanks.
easy.
I appreciate this very much.
You're so welcome, Joan. And remember, anytime you're struggling with anything, you need support, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome.
Take care of yourself.
See you later.